Welcome to Safety Talks, a podcast about all things safety, as defined by you, with your host, Steve Sisson, on Safety FM.
Well, welcome to another episode of Safety Talks. I am your host, Steve Sisson. I am very excited today for our guest. We have CEO of Safety Culture, Luke Anear. Luke, how are you doing today?
I'm good. Thanks, Steve. Thanks for having me.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate you jumping on. Just jump right into it. Safety culture is a great tool for the safety and many different industries. Can you tell us a little bit about what you needed and what you saw as a need in the field and how you guys came about creating it?
Yeah, sure. Well, it probably goes back to the beginning, I guess, when I was a private investigator in the workers' comp section. So I was essentially investigating people who'd been injured at work. And at some point, I was involved in about 2,500 investigations. I was like, you know what, we were in a reactive role. We were waiting for people to get injured, and then we're going to investigate what happened. And so I kind of looked around and thought, it's very complex how people were trying to maintain safety across the world. Every country had its own rules and regulations. Every industry had its own regulations. And so I kind of had to find the common thread that permeated all industries in all parts of the world. And the checklist was kind of the method that everyone was already using. Like, flights have a pre-flight checklist every time they take off all around the world. And every McDonald's bathroom's got a checklist in it when it was cleaned and nearby. So I kind of thought, well, if that's the common thread that everybody has already agreed to use, then why don't I put it in the hands of every work in the world in the form of an app? And we created Auditor, and basically allows people to build their own checklist, take photos and capture, issues, and then share that across their teams. And that's essentially what led to where we are today.
Excellent. So you found, you identified a need in the field and you went after it. So Safety Auditor is also, other people may know it as Auditor. And I can tell you from experience, I've worked with the product and I found it to be one of the most versatile products out there to use. What do you offer? Any other types of service, or what are the main industries that you guys focus on?
Yeah, it's been pretty broad because the checklist is so adaptable, and people can build whatever workflow they need in Auditor. They have the ability to be able to adapt it to their particular industry or workplace. So construction's probably the biggest customer base that we've had as a general rule, but we've seen it used in retail, across all different types of retail stores all around the world. Hospitality and leisure, so everything from gyms to the biggest hotel brands. Transport and logistics and aviation, the airlines use it. They check their aircraft, and airports use it. They check all the ground facilities. You see mining companies using it. So pretty much anywhere where there's a repetitive requirement to make sure that things are okay and identify issues, we see Auditor being used. It's been pretty amazing. Even extreme examples in Antarctica, the researchers down there check their equipment with it. And just last week, I got told the United Nations are using it in Afghanistan for assessing security checkpoints. So, literally, it's as diverse as diverse gets.
I can tell you, I've used the product and I've used it in a pure safety capacity and just doing safety audits or, general checklists. I was going through your website and, you kind of forget that almost every industry uses some type of checklist or some type of audit program. And Auditor seems to me to be one of the most versatile ones where you can develop it in hundreds of thousands of different ways.
Yeah, I think that's definitely the power of it. And there's a couple of things that I guess that kind of guided that. One was we wanted to see frontline workers driving the innovation and driving change, and not just management always having to come up with the perfect scenario and then pushing it down. And we all know, particularly safety managers, they're forever battling against the people who, don't value what they do. And so Auditor was the first time where we saw frontline people who were driving the change. They were the ones that would often download this app. They don't have any IT team or a big procurement budget, and they would digitize the paper checklist, and then they would start sharing it with people across their teams, and eventually it makes its way up to management. That's often how it's spread, which has been fascinating because it's used now to conduct about 450 million checks a year, which is just amazing. Like we started this in my garage, myself and Alan, and to think that it's used that much now, and there's like 120 million images that customers have taken with it. It just keeps on growing every day. But the real secret to the success has been that these frontline people who are responsible for managing safety and quality are now in the driver's seat for the first time. And they're getting recognized for the efficiency gains. And they also come up with new ways. So instead of just doing a point-in-time inspection, it might be, once a week there's a walkthrough, or once a month, or at the end of a project there's a QA check. They create much more nimble and sometimes even just one-question checklists that are done more frequently. And so what ends up happening is management and everyone else starts getting visibility that's almost real-time. They're now starting to see things about what's happening that they could never see before. And that's probably been the biggest driver of the adoption, is that people are able to pick it up, build a workflow, and start improving that every day without having to go back to their IT department or, the procurement officer or whatever. And it's been fascinating to watch.
I like that you say that it's the frontline supervisors that help, or the frontline employees that are help developing these checklists, because, history shows us that safety has tended to have a leadership push down of what safety should be, instead of asking the employees who do the frontline work. So when you allow them to do it, you are going to get better adoption of the program, which I think is fantastic. And another thing you had mentioned, and I run into quite a bit, is we run into companies that are looking for an auditing program. So they do go to their IT and they say, okay, what's it going to take to develop this? When all they got to do is reach out to safety culture, and they've got it. And, we know how much it costs to put together an audit program. I mean, it could be, it's in the thousands to hundreds of thousands of dollars if you do it from scratch, when you can go and get one that is completely modifiable off the shelf in safety culture or Auditor. So I think that's fantastic what you guys are doing.
Yeah, that was the idea, though. We didn't want people to have to pay millions of dollars for big software packages anymore. I think those days are over. It's about how do you adapt to the ever-changing conditions now in the workplace and give people the flexibility to be able to evolve whatever tools they're using. And so that's kind of been, I guess, at the heart of how we built the company. And a lot of it's just grown organically. Like, we never started with sales reps that went out and tried to, find people to use this. It was all people looking for it in the App Store and downloading it and giving us the feedback on what they were doing with it. And it's been very much an organic push. But something that was interesting was we noticed, we started looking and working with our customers to see how we could help them even more. And we noticed there were 72,000 incident reports completed in Auditor. And it's like, we never designed it for incident reporting. It was designed for inspections, and yet people had adapted it to that. And so we got thinking, and we built a second app called Spotlight, which allows people to report issues very quickly across teams, take photos, and have like this Facebook-style feed of an incident. And it might be a simple maintenance incident, or it could be a major incident. And we're starting to think about, how do we help teams share information very quickly to the key people and allow them to make decisions faster. And we had actually had the council or the borough from Grenfell in London, which is some of your listeners may be familiar with the Grenfell Tower incident 2 years ago, where 71 people died when a building caught fire, and the cladding on the outside of the building is what fueled the fire. And they shared a problem they had where they couldn't wake up the senior managers. It was 1 a.m. and their phones are on silent. And a lot of people now don't have landlines, or they've moved house and they couldn't find out where they were living. And so, it's got us thinking. So we're working now on how do we iterate on that and give people the ability to override silence. So if you have a fatality or you have a major incident, how do you press one button and have all the key people know? So that's something that we're pretty excited about, that's coming through very soon. And we're continuing to just learn from our customers how they're using our products, which is really interesting to see.
I started using iAuditor, it must have been about 4 years ago, maybe a little bit more. And a lot of stuff was still being worked out. And anytime I reached out to iAuditor about, or safety culture, about any changes or anything, either your team was able to sit there and help me walk me through the product, or you guys took my information and said, we don't have it yet, but we'll put it on the list. We'll put it on the list of things to do. So having a company to work with that will actually listen from a customer perspective and actually put the changes in play is great. I mean, I think that's going to be a successful model.
Yeah, I'm pleased to hear that, Steve, because we definitely pride ourselves on customer support. It's not enough these days to just push an app out and then not be available for your customers who have, often the best ideas and have unique challenges that they want to help with. We'll convert people's checklists for free for them, or if they've got lots to do, we'll do it at a small price. But whatever we can do to help them is our focus. And that's been the case from day one. I don't see that ever changing. We want to continue to provide world-class support for people and make sure that they can get value from the products and what we build. There are now about 300 odd people in the company, and so that's a lot of people to be focused on, how to build a better checklist app and then also how we service those customers. North America is our biggest customer base, and it's been that way from day one. Even though we started out in Australia, it's been right here in North America that we've seen the most activity and we've had the most customers, and that we spend a lot of time. We've got a great team here in Kansas City, and it's been, I think, a really interesting market for us to be able to learn from. The challenges here are, they're somewhat unique, and yet America's a forward-thinking country, and the challenges that we see here, we're seeing replicated in other parts of the world too. So, North America is really important and a key part of our business, and having customer support staff here on the ground is, I think, have been something that we've found works really well, and we continue to do.
Yeah, you mentioned that North America is your biggest, you have the most people on the system, but you also have the system implemented worldwide. You already talked about Iraq, you talked about London, and it sounds like it's just everywhere.
Yeah, it's surprising. Literally from, minus 4,000 feet on the ground in northern Canada to the guys in Antarctica and everywhere in between. It's been fascinating to watch the adoption. We support about 14 languages natively in the app, and more coming on our web platform as well. But it's been fascinating just to see. And I think this comes back to what I said originally about this common thread. It's like taking care of people and giving them tools to be able to find issues and communicate well isn't that different the world over. And albeit, industries can have nuance that varies, but at the end of the day, people need to be able to communicate and share, what they're dealing with and what their challenges they're facing, and I think that's why it's had that universal appeal, which has been really exciting for us to be part of.
Yeah, I find it interesting because I started this podcast, and I really wanted to get great products to introduce to the safety world for the people that may not have a full aspect, and I find that my listenership is in North America, but I got it all over the world, and you kind of lose scope of what safety touches and what a good product will do. And I never expected to have listeners from Egypt or Pakistan or any of those countries out there, but I do. So hopefully if they get to hear this podcast, they can look at safety culture and see if they can implement it in their places.
Yeah, and I think that's reflective of the state of the world right now. Like, even companies, businesses, jobs we're dealing with people on a global basis now. We get, people coming across borders, more so with different languages, all these kind of things. These are global challenges that everybody's trying to deal with and address. And so it's of no surprise that we see people, picking up our products, listening to your podcast from all parts of the world. It's leveling the playing field, and everyone's learning from everybody now rather than just keeping it in silos, which is a good thing. Everybody benefits from that.
Oh, I totally agree. So if you had to nail down one or two things that safety culture does that maybe your competition doesn't do, is there anything that you have, would say concretely, we do this better than anybody else?
I think the core difference between us and traditional people in the space is that we didn't set out with the goal of compliance. And I think a lot of people are reactive to legislation, and they set out this goal of, we're going to help you be compliant. And even companies, they set out the goal of, let's all make sure we're compliant. And I took the approach because I'd seen 2,500 incidents where companies were often compliant, they still had problems. So I took the approach that compliance isn't enough. Compliance is a minimum standard. It's a bit like the law of society. Like if you took this into like a context around raising children and family law, if you're basic, if that's your standard for parenting, you're going to be a terrible parent. You got to do so much more than that. You got to read books to them at night. You got to take them to the playground. You got to do all this fun stuff. And so, I thought about it from that point of view, and I thought, it's not good enough for companies anymore to be compliant. If you're going to build a new car, and you said, all right, everyone, we're going to build this new car, and the goal is that it's legal. Like, you're trying to take on Tesla and Mercedes-Benz, like, forget about it. It's like, you got to do so much better than that. And so, I think I kind of stepped back and said, compliance is not our goal. Compliance is a minimum standard. We need to build tools that help people implement best practice and that they can adapt. And they're not just retrospectively looking at legislation that was created after an incident, but they're proactively able to adapt going forward as our workplaces change. And the reason why that's a good thing is because it means you can build a user experience that isn't just a tick and flick system for trying to meet compliance. You're building a user experience which is around empowering people and helping people do amazing things each day. And with that scope, you can build incredible products and solve problems on a much bigger basis than just responding to a legal framework. And so we see our customers, now achieving much higher standards than ever because they use our tools as a compliance tool, sure, but they can do much more than that. And the real value usually comes when you move beyond just that minimum standard. So I'd say that's what the big difference is, Steve.
Excellent. I like the way you put it with the minimum standard being compliance. And, it takes a special kind of company to look at it that way because a lot of people do look at compliance as the standard to be at. But that, like you said, that's the minimum standard. And, we need to push past that.
Yeah, it's also the easy option. Like there's a lot of money in promising compliance to everyone. If you run around, if we promise our customers, environmentally you're going to be compliant if you do these things, if from a safety point of view, you're going to be compliant, they will write us big checks to guarantee that. And that's typically what software companies have tried to do. They've said, you use our software, you're going to be compliant, we'll charge you a lot for it. And we just have never been that company. And we tried to charge small amounts for many people rather than big amounts for a few. And yeah, for us, it's just part of our culture. It's part of our DNA.
One thing that, another thing, I keep saying one thing, but there's many things that I like about this product. And it definitely, one of them was the cost, and it's totally scalable. I could take it from a pilot program of 3 people and, and then if it works out for us, we can jump it to 100 people in a matter of minutes. Everything's online, everything's adaptable. You can lock down checklists from any perspective you want. And then there's the reporting suite. The reporting suite is fantastic. It prints professionally, and it gives you a lot of options there.
Yeah, it's interesting you say about scaling from a few people to more. Like, we often get customers that get so excited about Auditor, they've seen it work in other places, whatever, and they say, we want to get thousands of people in our organization using this tomorrow. And we actually say, you know what, just start with 10 or 20, or start with a couple of sites, and just understand what it can do for you and how it works for you. And from that basis, people then are able to get the internal champions and buy-in. They've got their own people who are understand their use case and their business case and the reasons why they should broaden it. And then company-wide deployments are much more likely to be successful. And so as much as we'd like to say, yeah, we'll just take the money for tens of thousands of people, it's more important that the customers who use it get a lot of value from it and grow into it. And so, I think we've got a customer at the moment that they've been with us for about 4 years. They've got 500 people using it, and now they're ready to go to 45,000. And so we see that sort of thing happening, but they've built a really strong base initially before they tried to do these huge, big company rollouts. And our advice has always been the same. Start small, build a strong foundation, and then grow from beyond that, which is really good to see.
Yeah, I've seen companies try to do exactly what you say, jump right to the big, everybody's got the product, but they don't have it nailed down. So then they have to go back and make modifications, and then they got to train all those people again. So it's kind of counterproductive.
Yeah, and you'll get salespeople that are from the software companies that are over-promising. This thing's going to solve all the problems in the world for you. It's going to be the best thing ever. And then when you get it, you're like, yeah, this actually, we're going to do some stuff that isn't quite right. And that's just typical of any type of software stuff. So what we've always said is make sure this does what you need it to do, and we can help you get there. But it's much more likely to be a great outcome than if people just get sold stuff because the salesperson is telling them it's going to be the best thing since sliced bread, and then they're on to the next customer, and they kind of gone when they need help.
Yeah, and one of the things that, again, one of the many things is that I've seen in this program this product is you're able, with the reporting suite, you're able to put good reports in front of senior management when they need the data, and you can go back and you can scale up any kind of reporting that you want from it.
Yeah, that's right. I think that's the key thing is how do you then, it's one thing to have a user experience where it's easy to capture the information up front, but then it's how do you then have the right people be able to make better decisions from the data that's being collected? And that's crucial at the end of the day. Just collecting data is not the end goal. The end goal is to make better business decisions and learn from that data. And so, we give managers and whoever needs it the ability to be able to see trends and what's working, what's not across time, and then also have instant workflows triggered, based on the responses that are being collected in the field. We're seeing more and more people using photos now too instead of just data. It's gone from keyboards to now thumbs on a phone, and it's slowed down our ability to communicate. And so more and more people now are using images to be able to convey information very quickly and can show what the state of a piece of equipment is, or the condition of an asset much more accurately than reading through 15 questions. And so we're seeing that happen more and more across the board as well. But getting that information in the hands of the decision makers is a crucial step.
Yeah, I think a lot of companies fail, especially when they're still using paper. They collect all the data and it goes nowhere. So they don't know what their trends really are, but they're checking the boxes just like they're supposed to. But nobody does the back end stuff. And this program helps do that and gives you all that aggregate data.
Yeah, that's a common thing we see. Customers want to just simply replace paper processes, and that's all well and good. And Auditor does that all day long. You can digitize any type of paper process, but the real value comes when you've got people, thinking about how do we create even more awareness across the teams. Like, no one fundamentally goes to work and wants to do a bad job or wants to get injured. No one ever goes to work with that mindset. And so there's this internal motivation that people want to do well. They want to do a better job, and yet they're not always armed with the information and that's going to allow them to do it. And so it's key that people are able to capture information quickly, share it quickly, and then move on from that, make new decisions, so that each day they're improving the workplace.
Yeah, and you had mentioned the other product was kind of more like an incident reporting. Is that out now, or is that coming out soon?
No, that's out now. Spotlight's free in the App Store. If you just search for Spotlight, it's you can pull it down. It's on iOS and Android, and it allows you to be able to report issues really quickly. Literally in under a minute, you can download that app, and you have incident tags, and you create your own tags. It could be like a maintenance issue, or it could be property damage, or whatever you want. You create your tags literally in a minute, and then you just choose the phone numbers of the people that you want alerted when that tag's used, and those people get an SMS or an in-app notification if they already have the app. If they don't, they get an SMS, and they're straight away on the incident and can see exactly what's happening. And it's phenomenal. You can see people download that and be up and running in a couple of minutes, and then they've now got this tool to communicate across teams, and it's powerful. We see all sorts of use cases where even in schools they've got like active shooter tags, and they have the sheriff's department who are on the app as well, and if someone hits that button, then instantly all of the teachers, the sheriff's department, they'll get notified, and any information that gets added, everybody on that team gets access to it and can see it. So it's super powerful for sharing information quickly when there are issues, and then making sure they're being addressed appropriately. So yeah, people can get that today. It's free. Download it, use it, and we will combine it into iAuditor later this year, all that functionality as well. But people can get started on that right now.
So if we have one of our listeners that want to know where to go get this, we know they can go download the app on Google Play or on Apple. Is there anywhere else they can get more information?
Yeah, safetyculture.com. Yeah, if they go there, you can find out any information you need. You can get access to our team. We obviously provide in-app support and chat and all those sorts of things, but we've got real phone numbers, real people here, and we'll help people how they want to help. So they can contact us in a whole range of different ways. And we run webinars and things as well, where customers can join those and listen from other customers' perspectives and learn from each other. So all sorts of stuff that happens. And we also have customer events that they can attend, summits and things. We have one coming up very soon here in the US, and we've got a big one coming in later this year as well in October, where you'll have hundreds of people all sharing ideas and what they're doing. That's where people learn the most. But the team's in Kansas City, so we have customers come through all the time, and we've got a great office space here. And anytime people come through, we're always welcoming and happy to see them.
Excellent. Well, Luke, I appreciate you being on the show today. Is there anything else that you would like to tell the listeners before we get going?
No, just appreciate you taking the time to allow me to come on and share what we've been doing. And, by all means, encourage everyone to let us know what we can keep doing better. We're always learning and growing, improving. And as our team grows, we'll continue to have an even bigger impact than we have today. So thanks, Steve.
Excellent. Well, that was Luke Anear, CEO of Safety Culture. We appreciate you, and we appreciate what you do for the safety industry. All right,
Thanks,
folks. Well, thank you for listening. This has been Safety Talks. I am your host, Steve Sisson. Please join us next time where we talk all things safety. Looking for more information on the host, services, or even more podcasts, please go to safetyfm.com. You can download the app now on the Apple Store or Google Play. Until next time, stay safe, my friends.
This episode has been powered by Safety FM.